Hilchas Evel Perik Sheni. Now we learned that there's a mitzvah sasei l'sabel ala krevim. Now there's certain krevim which is a chiyuv minatera to be misabel on them, and there's certain krevim that's only a chiyuv midrabanan. Perik Sheni. Elu shechayev adam l'sabel aleim din teira. These are the krevim which there's the din teira that is a chiyuv avelis. Aviv v'imei and bnei ubitei and achiv v'achesimi aviv. In other words, a brother or sister that share the same father, then there's a chiyuv avelis minatera. Midivreim sheis abel isha l'ishtei nesua. Someone that's married, so his ishtei nesua, he's an avel. That's midrabanan the Rambam paskins. V'cheinu isha al baila, and also misabel al achiv al achesi shei meimei. So the drabanans are ishtei hanesua. Now there is a baal, a husband, or a wife or a husband. That's a midrabanan, and also a brother or a sister which share the same mother. Brother or sister that share the same father, that's minatera, and al der is aviv v'imei and bnei ubitei. Halacha beis. Now a kohen is allowed to be mistami l'krevim. He's not only is allowed to, he will learn it's a mitzvah to mistami l'krevim. Now to which krevim could he be mistami? Only to those krevim which minatera that is a chiv avelis. Mashenkin, those krevim that there's only a drabara dik chiv avelis, so he can't be mistami because there's a isum minatera to be mistami, and there's only a chiv drabara to be misabel. He has a chiv drabara to be misabel, but on the other hand, he still has an isum minatera to be lihistami. Afilo hakayin she'eni metame la'ochiv v'achesim imei. He can't be metame because they're not really krevim minatera, and also v'lei la'achesi anasua, even to his sister which they share the same father, afal b'shim yaviv. But if she was already nesua, so he also can't be mistami to them. But nevertheless, misabelo aleim. So in other words, a kohen can be a hechatimtza that he's not mistami, but he's misabel. He's not misabel. He's not mistami because either because it's not a karev minatera, or because since she's achesi nesua, so there's no din of mistami, like we'll learn behemshich. And but on the other hand, he is misabel. Imhoisa achesi nesua mi'aviv. Is arei misabel ola din teira. So in other words, if she was misabel, so achesi nesua could be achesi nesua midrabanon. He's misabel ola, or he's achesi nesua, which minatei is misabel ola. Depending if she's achesi minav, achesi minaem. But either way, he's not mistami to her. So again, a kohen is never mistami to achesi nesua. He's misabel on his achesi nesua, either minatei if she's achesi minav, or midrabanan if she's achesi minaim. Now there is a bechlal achesi love of achesi meimei. If she's not nesua, so he's misabel on them. But on the other end, he's not mistamik. Halacha gimel. Bnei ei achiv habom min ashuvcha min anochris. In other words, they share the same father, but lepeil. In other words, either a person was bala shivcha and he had a child, so that's bnei min ashivcha. But lepeil, that ben doesn't have a din of his son. Because the fact that he was bom in Ashivcha or even in Agoya doesn't have a din of the father's son. It's not related at all. There's no din of Avelis. Al derez, if you have two brothers which share the same father and the same mother, but the mother was a Shivcha or the mother was a Nachris, so Memela also there's no din of Avelis. We're talking about that they became Yidden. Obviously, if they're going, but if they became Yidden and they share the same father and the same mother, but Lepel, the mother was a Shivcha or a Nachris, so Memela, so there's no din of Avelis. Halacha Gimel, B'noi Oy Ochiv, Habom min HaShivchei min HaNochris, Ein Misabel Aleim Klal, because there's not considered, they're not related to the father, they're not related to each other, to the brothers. V'chein Mishin is Gayer Hu Abonov, a person that he wasn't a Yid, and he had children while he wasn't a Yid, and then he was Nizgayer together with his children, Ein Nishtacher Hu V'yimei, together with his mother, he was Nishtacher, he was an Eved, his mother was a Shivcha Knainis, and they both became the shtacher, is again Amos Abun Zelzeh. They have no relation to each other. There's no relation to the fact that was Baal Agoya, and now they're Gerim, they're both considered Kikot and Shnelet, and there's no relation. V'chein, Ishte Arusa Amos Abul Allah. Ishte Nesua, there's a Chiv Avelis Midrabana, the Rambam said before. Mashenkin Ishte Arusa, there's no Chiv Avelis, and also V'lei Einan, there's no Din Einan either. There's no Din Einan. If a person feels bad, he feels bad. But the din of Einan Mashal to be Asad Maisa Sheni, certain dinim of Aninos wouldn't apply to someone that Ishte Arusa was Mesa. V'chein hi le'einenes v'lei misabelis olav, she doesn't have a din of an Einan on him. So again, we learned over here this dinim of Krevim and Atera, Krevim Minatera is the Av Ve'em and Benu Bas and Ach Ve'oches, which is Min Ha'av. The Krevim Midrabanon is Ishtei and Nesua, and Aldera is a Baila, and then there's also the Ach Ve'oches, which are Min Ha'em. Now the Kohen could only be Mistame to someone that's a Karev Minatera, someone that's a Karev Midrabanon, he can be Mistame, and Aldera Zeh, even if it's a Karev Minatera, but if it's a Chesi and Nesua, so then he's also not Mistame to her. But if it's a Chesi, even if it's a Drabanon, so he's Mistame, so he's Misabel Allah, even though he's not Mistame. Halacha Dalet. Kol HaKrevim shehu chayiv l'sabel aleim is harehu misabel imoyim b'fneim midivri sefer. So if a person has a relative, which that relative there's a chiv avelis if that relative would die, and lepel that relative himself lost a karev, which that karev is not a karev to this person. Whereas this person is a karev to a second person, and that second person is a karev to a third person. The first person and the third person are not krevim, but lepel the second person, which this first person is a karev to, now is achiv avelis. So there's a din midrabanon that b'fanav you have to also prav avelis. That's his din. Nachamol. Kol hakrevim shehu chayiv l'sabel aleim, that this person is b'chuyiv to misabel on these krevim, is areza misabel imoyim b'fneim b'divrei sefer. When they are being misabel, he should be misabel together with them b'fneim b'divrei sefer. Ketzad harei shemes men ben b'nei. So harei shemes ben b'nei. Someone's anicle, which is his son's son, died. Or his son's brother, which is a son's brother, obviously Minoaim. Or his son's mother, which is right now not related to him. Either they were never married or they're divorced. Is chayiv l'kreya b'fnei b'nei, so he has to prava avelis b'fnei b'nei. Notice his son is sitting shiva. His son is a Evel. Why is he an Evel? Because either he lost his mother or he lost his brother, or he lost his son. Is chayiv l'kreya b'fnei b'nei, so he has to make kriya b'fnei b'nei, v'linig avelis b'fonav, and to be neg the dini avelis b'fonav in front of the son. Aval shalei b'fonav, he's not really a novel. The father, the grandfather is not a novel. Is the aval shalei b'fonav eini chayiv v'chein b'shar hakrev. Now ishtei anasua, which we said before, is only a din. The rabbanon really, the whole kreveshaft of ishtei anasua is the rabbanon. Is afal pishu misabel Allah, even though there is din avelis on the ishtei nesua, is eini misabel ima al shar krivel, ela alavia val ima bilvad. If a person's wife, a ishtei nesua, so he's a aval on ishtei nesua. So based on the rule we just learned, so if ishtei nesua would lose anybody, so that she's a b'chuyev to be aval, so the husband would have to be an aval together with her, to prab avelis with her. So now the Rambam is saying no. That if Ishtei Nesua L'Mashal lost her brother or she lost her son, so then there's no chiyuv avelis on the husband even b'fanel. Masha'enkin, if she lost one of her parents, so then there is a chiyuv of avelis. That's this din. Ishtei Nesua, aval pishum misabel aleh, there is a din of avelis aleh, is eini misabel ima ashal krevel. If she's avela for other krevim, he doesn't have to prav avelis the husband. Ella lavia val ima bilvad, only for his father-in-law and his mother-in-law, for her father and her mother. Mishum kvein ishtei neig avelis alei b'fanei ketzad. Misha meisa chamesei, his mother-in-law passed away. Echamav, or his father-in-law, is kefa mitasi, like we learned behemsha, that he turns over his bed, which is one of the din of avelis. And v'neig avelis im ishtei b'fanei. When he's in front of his wife, so he's neig avelis when we're talking about for his mother-in-law or his father-in-law, and there's her father or her mother. Avol shalei b'fanei ain't neig avelis. V'chein isha shemes chamio echamesa. A woman that her father-in-law or her mother-in-law passed away is neheges avelis b'fanav. Avol shar krevein, but there are other relatives. Kigein shemes achi ishtei. A person's wife's husband, brother died. Ibna. Or v'hoisha shemes achibayla ibnei. So even though this husband or this wife is an oval because he lost his son or he lost his brother, but nevertheless, a misabel zemzeh. You only misabel together with your husband or with your wife if they're being misabel on one of their parents. V'chein yiroli shemesa eshes krevei a baal krivase ken shemesa eshes bnei a baal bitei. Is also eini chayiv l'sabel aleim v'chein kol k'yetz b'zeh. So in other words, the bnei, which really he's an oval on his bnei, in other words, for his bnei is a din, a regular din avelis. But for the bnei that lost his wife, so then that doesn't apply to the dinya avelis. So over here, just like when a person's own wife, there's no dinya avelis for his wife's krevim, only for his wife's mother and father. So al derech zeh, for the krevim of a wife of one of your krevim, a wife of a person's krevim, which that karev he would have to be an oval for, and now this karev is now being an avelis because of his wife. So the pill, you don't have to prav avelis together with this person. So if a person's son's wife died, so then even though his son is someone that he would be an oval for if his son would die, and lepel now this son is have avelis because of his wife, but lepel that doesn't apply to the father. Just like when a person's own wife, the Rambam is like comparing. Just like when a person's own wife's krevim dies. So and the wife is sitting shiva lepel, he doesn't have to prav avelis unless we're dealing with the wife's parents or the husband's parents. So al derech zeh, if a karev's wife passed away, you don't prav avelis in front of the son. Halacha Vov. Kama chamura mitzvahs Evel. Shari hakoyin nitches le'atuma mepnei kroivov kedei sheyisabel imoim yisasik imoim v'yisabel aleim. So we see that a koyin, even though a koyin normally is not allowed to become tummy lemes, but nevertheless they would doicha the tumah for the koyin in order to be mistami from the krevim, and the purpose why there was the dchia of this tumah was in order for him to be misasik imoim v'yisabel imoim. Shnei mekim l'sheiri hakarev elov li'imei la'aviv v'chulu lo yitami. So we learn out mitzvahs asay that it's mitzvahs asay to be mistami, and she'im li'rotze l'istami mitam neisim al korche. So there's a special mitzvahs asay for a kohen to become tummy to his krevim. B'medvar mamurim that there's a mitzvahs asay for the kohen to become tummy to his krevim. That's only b'schorim shehuzar al atuma. So in other words, a kohen b'chlolis is now allowed to get tummy to a mess, and now when he has a karev, there's a mitzvah for him to become tummy to the mess. Aval kehanes, but which lechatchila hail ve'enim muzharis al atuma. They lechatchila don't have a mitzvah to become. There's no isser for them to become tummy lemes. Is kach enim mitzvah listamis lekrev. So they also don't have a mitzvah to become a tummy lekrev. Elim rotzu mistamis v'rotzu leistam. Now, a woman could always be a mistami. There's no isser for her to be mistami, but there's no mitzvah for her to be mistami. Mashenkin a kohen, there's an isser for him to be mistami, and there's a mitzvah for him to be mistami. And bepashtus, with Negei Yisrael also, there's no chi of a mitzvah for him to become mistami. In other words, a Yisrael doesn't have a isser to be mistami, but on the other hand, he doesn't have a mitzvah to be mistami to a mess. Dafka kohen, which has a isser to be mistami, so when he has a karev and there's a heter to be mistami, not only there's a heter, but there's also a mitzvah. The Rambam passes clearly that only a kohen is mechumil is tamil lemes and not koyanes. The Pasha is also not Yisraelim. My says the Shulchan Aruch in Shimon Gimel in Hilchas Avelus. So over there, the Shulchan Aruch he paskins that Sai Yisraelim, even Kenes, all should be mistami lemes. They all are supposed to be mistami lemes, not like the Pasha's Lashon Rambam over here. Halacha Zayin. Now we learned before that a kohen can become tamei l'mashal to his brother or to his sister, which is minaim, and the Pasha's the reason is because since they are only misabel midrabanan, midiraisa there's no chiyuv avelis of a brother and a sister minaim. So even though there's a chiyuv drabanan to be misabel, but on the other hand, the heter for a kohen to go ahead and become tummy doesn't apply. So memela he's misabel, but on the other hand he can't become tummy. Now, l'chura, based on that din, should be the same thing, that the din of avelis for ishtei and nesua is only a drabanan. So l'chura, the pashtus would be that a kohen is now to become tamei leishtei and nesua because the chiyuv avelis is only midrabanan. So there's no heter minatera for becoming tamei. But lepel midrabanan, the chacham instituted that you should become tamei leishtei and nesua, and she has the din of a mes mitzvah. That's this next din. Halacha zayin. Ishtei shel kohen mistamel lo al korche. He should become tummy. No, there's a al korche. They force him to become tummy to ishtei hanesua. The einim mistamel elim dirisefim. This din is only a drabanan. Now, l'chore, how can the drabanan go ahead and be oiker adav ben atera b'kum vasei? Also, ese kemes mitzvah. They gave her a din of a mes mitzvah. Ki v'shein lo yerish elohu. He is the yerish. Is liyah timtza mishi yisasik bo elohu. Ve'enim mistame elim nesua bilvad. Aval arusa liyistamel. Arusa, we said before that he's not even an oval. There's no oval and there's no anidas. So the mele there's no din of mistame. Masha'en kein. And he's also not a Yiddish. Masha'inken b'negeya ishtei and nesuas, even though midiraisa there's no din avelus, but nevertheless the midrabon there is a din avelus, and also midrabon there he's mistame bal korchin. She has a din of a mes mitzvah. Halacha ches v'chein kol oison shamarnu she'ema misabim aleim kigin harugi bezdin or v'haperish midarkit tzibur v'hanafolim v'hama'abed asmi ladas. So in a kohen mistamilem, the kohen is not mistamil to these people. And if the kohen is a karev to these people, he would be a son or a brother or whatever. He would be a karev, and normally for such a karev he would be mistamil. But over here, since there's no din misabel and there's no din mistamil. Now, v'ad mosai hu mitzvah l'istamil l'krevov. You're saying that there's a mitzvah l'istamil until what point you mistamil l'krevov? Actually, yistam agel, until the kfura was finished. There was stimas agel, and it was the kfura, the kever was covered. At that point in time, there's no longer the mitzvah and the heter and the chiyuv to be mistami. Avu me'achash nistam agel harei kishar kol hamesim she'im nistami mem fakert. If he comes tummy to this mess after it was already nistam agel, so then he's like halacha tes ishtei hapsula einem mistamelo. Person is not mistamel ishtei hapsula. Now the whole musik that a person is an oval to ishtei anasu is the chadin derabanan. The Rai said there's no din of avelus for ishtei deram pasket. Then there's a din that a person is mistami to ishtei. It's also a din derabanan that they gave her a din of a mes mitzvah. But that's only if she is a ishtei which is not a psula. Mashain, if ishtei is a psula, so the rabbanan didn't institute this din that mistamila is nachmal. Ishtei a psula ain't mistamila. Lefichach misha shama shemes baila. A woman that hears her husband died v'nisas and then ubo baila. Shneim ain't mistamila. Her original husband is now they both have to divorce her. So the first husband is divorce her because he has a din of shezinsa, and the second husband b'chlal is she was really married, so really he doesn't have a din of a husband in the first place. So the din is misha shama shemes baila v'nisas or bo baila. Ishneim ain't mistamila shari psula l'shneim. She's possible to both of them. Aval so by a ishtei there's a din that when she's a psula ain't mistamila. But by other kravim, if there's taka karev, so even though the child, it's a psula from there's a din mistami. Aval mistami hu leimei afal pishi chalola. Even though the imei is chalola, nevertheless he would be mistami to her, which we'll soon see. How could it be ayichet timsa where there's a kohen that has a mother a chalola, and v'chein mistami lebnoi u lebitei u la'achiv u la'chesei afal pisheim psula afilo hayim amzeirim mistami lem. There's a person has a brother or a sister or a son or a daughter, so even though they're psulim, but nevertheless the fact that they're psulim doesn't prevent the chiyuv for this kohen to be mistami to these kravim, because these kravim lepel, he has a din of avelus in them, memela he has a din of avelus and also mistami lep. So much if a kohen had a son a mamzer, or he has a daughter a mamzer, so lepel they're mamzerim, but lepel he's a kohen, and memela he's misabel on them, and he also is mistami lehem. And Alderas, if he has a brother, a mamzer, or a sister, a mamzer. So all these people are also, he is misabel on them, and he also is mistabilem. Now the Rambam says the case of a mother. His mother is a chalola. What's the case of a mother chalola? So if she was a chalola before he was conceived, his father, which was a kohen, lived with a chalola. So obviously this child's issue for a kohen to live with a chalola. Really, this child would also be a chalol. It has to be that she became a chalola after he was born. L'moshel, that either she before when he was born she was a regular, she wasn't a chalola, she was mutter l'kayin, kayin lived with her, and then he was born, and then she went ahead and became a chalola. She became a chalola, either she became a grusha, and then a kayin lived with her, so she became a chalola, or she became an almana, and a kohen gadol lived with her, and she became a chalola. There was an isser kahuna that happened with her, and as a result of that, she became a chalola. She became a chalola after he was already conceived. After he was already conceived, she became a chalola. So then the chiyai gavna. So then lepel, she's his mother, and now she's a chalola. So nevertheless, he is mistami to her. He's oval on her, and he's mistami to her. Halacha yud. Achoisei hanasua eina mistamelo. There's a special in achoisei hanasua. You don't become tummy to achoisei hanasua. Aval bishi nasua lekain. Even if she's married to a kain, but lepel, her brother, the kain doesn't become tummy to achoisei nasua. If it would be achoisei not nasua, so he would get married. He would be tummy to her, but achoisei nasua he doesn't become tummy to her. Shnamar apsula akreid ve'ilov asher loy hoysel ish. So the din when the Torah tells us that a person can become tummy to his sister, a kohen can become tummy to his sister. It says achese hapsula asher loy hoysel ish. So we learn that hapsula prat lanusa mefuter. If she was nivala, either mefuter or anusa, should no longer the kohen could become tummy to his sister, which is no longer a psula. And Yachol Shani Meitzi Afa Bagris in the she has to be a psula, which is already before Bagris. We say by Bagris is like Kolu Psuleh. So Yachol Shani Meitzi Afa Bagris in Mukaseit Tamud Lemer Asher Lehoisel Yish Mishav Yosim B'Yish. Whereas if she's no longer a psula because she was Hoisel Yish, so then she's excluded from this din of him being metamiter. So we consider a person's metamer to a sister if the sister is a psula. If she could be a Mukaseit, she can be a mukaseitz or she can be a beggars, but she has to be not a mafuta and anusa. No, she was not nivala. And then the pasuk continues, asher lehoisel ish. So that's also prat la'arusa. A person is also not mistami to his sister, which is an arusa. Afal pishi arusa lekein, but nevertheless, if she's arusa, he's not mitami to her. But there's a difference between arusa and asua, like we'll learn. On asua, once she was in asua, so even if she's no longer in asua, so still he's not mistamila. And if she was in Arusa, while she's in Arusa, he's not mistamit to her. But if she's no longer in Arusa, she's divorced or she died, so then he's vayta mistamit to her. That's this din. There's a shelo isaliyish prat la Arusa. She'eni mistamul afal pishi Arusa lekei. However, this garsha chesim in Erusin, if his sister, which was in Arusa, now is already in his garsha, min Erusin, is mistamilo. Shnama akreve elov. So we learn out from the word akreve elov. Lahavi is hamizgareshes min ha'erisin. That if she was an arusa and then she was nisgarsha, so he's mistamit to her. Masha'enkin, if she was an asua, so then he's not mistamit to her. So b'kitzur, a kohen is mistamit to the krevim. He can mistamit to krevim even if they're psulim. The only psul that you say he's not mistamit is if a person's married to a woman that she's psula alav. She's psula alav, so then he's not mistamit to her. But the other krevim is mistamit even if they're psulim. And then there's a din that a person is kohen is not mistameh lachesi anusua, even if she's no longer an asua. Masha'inkin lachesi arusa, while she's an arusa, he can't be mistameh to her. But once she's no longer in arusa, she was nisgasher in the salmala, so then he could be mistameh to her. Al derazeh, he's not mistameh to a sister which is no longer a psula. She was an arusa or mafuta. Halacha yud beis. Achiv v'achesi mi'imei einim mistameh. Person is not mistameh to a ochiv v'achesim imen. Even though we said before that he's misabel midrabanon and he's einim mistabel shenema lebnei lebitei la'ochiv la'achesei. So we learn out ma bnei haroy l'rishasei af ochiv v'achesei haru'uyim l'rishasei. So in other words, bnei ubitei is always royal for Yerusha. You could be the better and the bas could always be yarshin their parents. Masha'enkin ochiv v'achesei, you could only yarshin on ochiv v'achesei if they share the same father. Mashenkin, if they share the same mother, there's no musig of Yerusha of an ach va'aches which share the same mother. So we learn out that ach va'aches has to be dumya de bnei ubebitei, that they share the same father and the royal Yerusha. Halacha Yud Gimel. Hasveikes eini mistamel. You can only be mistamel to someone that's a vadei korev. So vadei korev, so then you can be mistamel to that person. Shenemer lo yitame. So we learn out mistamel hu al avadei. Ve'enei mistami ala sofik. You're not mistami ala sofik. So notice the pastors lechuris. What's the chiddush? Sveika deiraisa lechumra. So lechura, how could you be mistami ala sofik? The Ma'aseh Shittas Rambam is that the din of sveika deiraisa lechumra is only midrabanan. Mideiraisa sveika deiraisa is lekula. So mainly you could say that mideiraisa lechura sveikas you could be mistami. You know, since there's a sofik chiyuv to be mistami on one hand, and on the other hand the isser is only a sofik isser. So mainly you could be mistami even ala sofik. So that's the chiddush. No, hasveikas ain't mistami. Shnema lo yitami, that they had to be mitami is only like mideiraisa over here by sofik. They're being shel. They had to be mistami. Lo yistami mistami hu ala vadim ain't mistami ala sofik. If not for this pasuk, you would be mistami ala sofik, according based on the principle that a sofik deiraisa is only midrabanan l'chumra. That's l'shitzus Rambam. Now the Rashba holds that Sveika Deiraisa is Menatera L'chumra. So the question is, why do we need this din of Lo Yitami? Lo Yitami, what's the Chiddush, the Lo Yitami? The Mistami Al Avadi, Mistami Al Asofik, L'chura, Min Asofik, the Sveika Deiraisa, Menatera L'chumra. So how can you be Mistami? So on that, the Shagsari wants to answer that according to the Rashba, the Pshat is that he'll hold that the Chiyuv to be Mistami is not only in Akain, it's also on Yisro. Whereas the Rambam says that the Chiyuv to be Mistami is only on the Kain, not on the Eishes Kain, not on the Noshim, the Bnei Sakanis, and B'Pash is not on Yisrael. The Chiyuv only on the Kain. Masha'enkin, the Rashba could be holds that the Chiyuv is also on Yisrael. Because there's a Chiyuv to be Mistami to Krevim. There's a Chiyuv to Misabel on Krevim, and there's also a Chiyuv to be Mistami on Krevim. So then you'll say that this limud of Lo Yitami is talking about the Chiyuv to be Misabel. There's a Yisrael, which there's a Chiyuv to be Misabel. We're saying the Chiyuv to be Misabel is only on a Vade Korev, not on a Safek Korev. That would be the Pshat, not the Isser, anyways, is Asr, because Safek Asr is Asr. Mashaykid, the Chiddush over here, that Lo Mistami, the Chiyuv to be Mistami is only on Vade, not on a Safek. That's the Shach Zari says. Halacha Yud Gimel, Nachmal. Hasveikis Eini Metamelem, Shnemo Lo Yitami. So we learn now Mistami Ol Avadai, Ve'eini Mistami Ol Safek. Lefichach Havlodish Nisarvu. There's Vlodish Nisarvu, we really don't know if they're Krevim. Or Vahaben Shu Savi Ben Shiva La'achrin, Ben Tishul Rishin, Ve'chein Kol Kietzvim. So you're not really sure who's their father, who's the father of the other person, if the original husband that died, or the original husband that died or gave a divorce, or the second husband, because we don't know if it's a Ben Tishul Rishin, Ben Shiva La'achrin, so we don't know who his brothers are, who his father is. So the din is Einim Istanbul and Besafik. So such a person, if you have a Safik who the father is, and then the father dies, so the son can be Mistamid to this father. Because Lepel, he doesn't know if it's his father, maybe it's his uncle, or maybe it's a friend of the person. V'chein kolam is gareshes, Safik Gerishin, a beget puzzle, is Einim Istanbul. Get puzzle means it's a get, minatera, it's good, midrabanan, it's not good, it's a get puzzle, midrabanan. So Memel is someone that has a get puzzle midrabanan, so the whole musik of being married is only a drabanan dikadin of being mustami, and that doesn't apply to sveikas. So be kitzer. So you only mustami to someone that's a vade karev, only to someone that's a vade karev, not to someone that's a suffik karev. So someone that's a suffik wife, suffik gerishin you're not mustami, and even someone that you definitely will megarish, and l'pel it's a puzzle gerishin, is also you're not mistami, because l'pel, since the person has already a gerishin, which is a menatera diki gerishin, so the din that you could be mistami to your wife doesn't apply. Halacha Yudalid. Eina koyin mistami le'evim menachai miyoviv, v'lei le'etzem mi'atzom misoviv. Now the din is that evim menachai is metame kimes, is metame b'maga b'maso be'el. The etzem is only an etzem and a mess is metame. Etzem menachai is not metame. So there's a eina koyin mistami le'evim menachai miyoviv, even though this Evim Nachai has a din that's Chai B'Kfura and it's Metame, but Lepel, this heter that there is Lehistame, Lemes, to a Krevim, doesn't apply to an Evim Nachai, and also Leila Etzem Yatzom Yisavim, because we learn Behemshel that it's only a Sholim, even if it's not Sholim, so even if everything is there, but they're not together. So it's also you can be mustami. So that's this din. Eid nakeim mustami leiv menachai miyoviv. Even though this eiv menachai has a din of a mess, that it's metamin, that it's chai bekfura. But on the other hand, the kain is now been metamin leiv menachai miyoviv, and also v'leila etzem yatzam misaviv. Etzem yatzam misaviv is referring to an etzem which came yatzam misaviv lacher misa. V'chein hamalaket yatzam misaviv ein mustami lem afal pi yishashidr kayemes. Because this din of the heter of listami is l'tzeirich hakfura, but over here, since it was already covered, it's only being malakat at some misaviv. So even though the shiddur is kayemes, nevertheless there's no heter of being mistame to the mess. Halacha tezvav nikta roishe shalaviv eini mistame shenemar la'aviv. So we learn now bizman shehu shalim v'lei bizman shehu chaser, and even though it says la'aviv, and somewhere it's a deal on how exactly is the limud from the yitur or the mashmoy sakra, but I'll call upon the limud is from the word li'aviv that we learn out that has to be an aviv shalim. So we learn out v'chein sh'ar hakrevim. Now the Radvaz asks over here the lechura this din is not only by benegeya a niktar reishe, it would also be niktar any aver, even aver cotton. So memela it's not already a guf shalim. So he says there's a difference. The Rosh says this din that l'mashal you have to have a guf shalim it means if he died with the guf shalim, and then part of it was taken away, so then that part of it that was, since it was only no longer the shalim that was mess, so maybe you can't be metame to it. Masha'inkin, if a person, let's say, lost an aver b'chayav and he lived, and then he died, so then the din is that's called the mes shalim. A mes shalim means the mes shalim as he died. Masha'inkin. So again, so if he dies before he lost an aver, and then he lost an aver after he dies, so then he's taki, you can't be mistami to him. Masha'inkin, if he was chaser an aver before he was mes, and then he was mes, so that's considered a mes shalim, and maybe you could be mistami. And that's the chiddush. That's the advasa. That's the chiddush. That nikta reisha shalove, and that's how he died. So you could think to yourself that since this is how he died, so so this is how he was when he was chai. When he was chai, he was nikta reisha, and then he was nikta reisha before he was mes. So ki'ilu neimar. So you'll say that the mes shalim is the mes shalim after it was nikta reisha. We say no. That since lepel he was definitely mes before it was nikta legamri. Whereas while in the process of nikta reisha, that's when he was mes. So mele it's considered that he was a mes with a rosh. And then lepel later on he was nikta reisha, so you took off the reisha after he was mes. So mele is not considered a mes shalom. So that's the chiddush here. That even though he died with the nikta reisha, nevertheless we assume, we nem on, it's the davar apashut, that he was a chai, he was a mes before it was actually nikta reisha. And as while he was in the process of being nikta reisha, he was already a mess, and now from after he was mess, it was nikta reisha. Notice the gemara of the nikta reisha happened after he was mess, and therefore he is not considered a mess shalom. Again, inside tezvav nikta reisha shalaviv eine mistamile. He was nikta reisha shalaviv, and that's how he died. Is eine mistamile shenamar laaviv. So we learn now bizman shu shalim v'le bizman shu chaser v'chein shar krev. Then the Ram continues hatuma lekrevim tchuyehi. V'lei hutra lakel. Lefichach aser lekein lestami lemes, afila b'shor shemestami lekrevav. Shenamer lo yitami, eine mestami lacherenima. The din is that when a person, a zakayin is not even mestami lemes, even if a kohen is mechuber lemes, and lepel for him to touch a mes acher is an isser, even though he wouldn't get malchus for it, but lepel there's an isser for a kohen that's even though he's mechul ve'emen, he's in the middle touching a mess, but nevertheless, for him to touch a mes acher is aser. Now, if the din would be that a kohen listami lekreva would be hutra, vices the pshat would be that since he's being mistami lekrevim, at that point in time there's no iser of being mistami lemes. Since he's going ahead being mistami lekrevim, so at that point in time there's no iser for him to be mistami lemes. And then that would be the pshat. If at that point in time, since he's being mistamil craven, there's no issa the mistamil mes. So who had the nikim mistamil mesacher, which is not craven. So while he's being mistamil craven, he can be mistamil mesacher. But if you learn that it's tchuya be'amas, there is an issa to mistamil mes. It's elamai, the mitzvah of being makaber the mes of the craven of being mistamil craven overrides the issa of being mistamil mes. But it's not pshat. There's no issa mistamil mes. There's an issa mistamil mes, and there's a mitzvah for him to listamil krevim. That mitzvah listamil krevim overrides the issa listamil mes. So that's dafka to overrides the issa mistamil to this mess. Masha'inkin to mistamil to another mess, or that it doesn't override because there's no need to be mistamil to other mesim. Again, if while he's being mistamil krevim, kila the teir was mafkia the whole din of iser tuma for a kayin, so then he would be mutter listamil lacherim as well. But since we're saying it's not hutra, it's tchuya, which means be'emes there's an iser listam. It's just that this mitzvah is overriding this iser, so maybe it's overriding this iser, but it's not overriding the other iser. That's this din. Hatuma lekrevim tchuye, and v'lei hutra lakel. It's only a b'chemus tchuya and not hutra. Lefichach, since it's only tchuya, is aser lekoyin lehistami lemes, afila be'es shemistami lekrevav. Even while he's being mistamil kreva, so we don't say that at this point in time there's no iser listami. Shenamar lo yitami, which means eine mistamil acherim ima shaliyemer hail v'netmesi alavi alaket atzomis pleni ayega bekever pleni. So we say no, he's allowed to be mistamil to this mess, and he's not allowed to be mistamil to any other mess. Lefichach koyin shemesli mess is tzarich lizor ulekovrei b'tzei beis akvaris, and the reason for it is kadesh liyikonis lebeis akvaris. If he's going to go b'teich beis hakvaros, so while he's carrying his mess, he's becoming tummy with other kvarim. So therefore, he should be kaver meisei b'seiv beis hakvaros, in order that while he's going ahead to be mekaber meisei, he shouldn't go ahead and be mistami with other kvarim. There's a ha'ara on the Rambam. The Rambam seems to say the Rambam is saying the reason why you should do it b'seiv beis hakvaros, because if it would be hutra, so then there would be no problem, because then you could go while you're carrying the mess to mekaber, you could go ahead and go over the other kvarim. But since it's tchuya, so you shouldn't really be metamid to other mason while you be mekaber this mess. Therefore, you should do it. He should be buried b'seiv beis hakvaros. Even if we'll assume hutra, and therefore there's no problem of going to be mekaberim on the way to be mekaberim, but once he was already nikbar, so it's already uis hutra, and now you have to go back. So once you go back, you'll become nikbar b'kvarim. So why is the Rambam saying that the reason why you should do it b'seiv beis hakvaros is because it's chuya, not hutra, and therefore you shouldn't be mekaber while you're going towards the beis hakvaros, towards the kaver. Even if it would be hutra, it would also be a problem because you have to come back. There's l'chura on the Rambam. There's also another din. What happens like if you don't have that option? There's only a place in the middle of the beis hakvaros. Is there a problem of a kohen going there? Vice from the poskim they bring that the poskim are saying no, that b'diavad, if lepel there's no other option except for the middle beis hakvaros, so then you could go ahead and be mekaber in middle beis hakvaros, even though lepel you're going to end up having to go back. There's both ways. You're going to go towards this cave, or you're going to go while you'll be touching other kvarim, becoming tummy from other kvarim while you're going to the kfura, and also when you come back from the kfura. But vice versa, letzerich hakfura, you can go ahead and be matami to this mess, and also be matami to other mason, if this is letzerich hakfura, which means you have to be makabah this mess, and the only way to do this is by going back and being makabah to those kvarim. That's l'chorah pshat.